Alright lads, welcome to my little demonstration of the mod Urbe Condita for Rome Total War. I'm Zipzopdippity-bop-bop, I'm the mod creator, and I just figured I would show you just a couple of the things the mod does, you know. So, that being said, as you can see there's new loading screens, stuff like that, and if I go into the Imperial campaign, you see that the map is expanded to northern Britain, parts of Scandinavia, Finland, and to the south towards Ethiopia and Libya. So if you go east it expands, that's where most of the changes are. You can see the map is massively expanded beyond Mesopotamia, includes all Arabia, includes Mariana, pretty much the Persian hinterland, and goes all the way east to India. So as you can imagine there are a lot of new factions in the game as well. Now, the core engine does have a limited number of factions you can add. So that being said, I added several new ones, or there are several new ones at least. There is the Kingdom of Epirus, the Kingdom of Bactria, and the Sabaeans. Now the Romans, in order to facilitate the addition of these new factions, the Romans were merged into one single faction, as you can see. Considering they all have the same troops, I didn't see it as being too much of a problem. Now, let's start a quick campaign as, say, one of the factions. We'll try somebody, we'll try Armenia, okay? So, just to show you just a few changes in the game. Now, those of you who have played the earlier versions of Urbe Condita may notice a few differences in this later version, notably new loading screens, campaign descriptions have been improved, a few more UI screens, and the terrain has been overhauled, not massively but better so. As you can see there are new tree models in the game. The terrain looks slightly different, as you can see up here in Scythia. If we go east towards India and the Hindu Kush, we go south into India proper. Now the terrain here may look quite strange, but it's how do you say, it's hasn't been farmed. You start developing farms in regions like this, and this this plain will develop into strips of farmland and such. So it looked pretty good. Right, we go east. This is over Asia. This is Mesopotamia. You can see the Hanging Gardens here, and up here is Babylon. And as you can see, it's much more fertile now than it was in the original, because in the original it looked like a desert, which I don't think is very accurate considering this is supposed to be the Fertile Crescent. Anyways, that being said, we move further south and we come to Arabia. If you look at the water, by the way, it's incorporated Roma Surrectum 2 graphics, so the water's much more entertaining to look at and such, and the same translates into the battle maps. The battle maps are much more detailed, much more graphically impressive and such, so much better than vanilla Rome Total War. The mod itself, as you can see, it still contains pretty much the same core mechanics as Rome Total War, the original, but they didn't want to deviate too much from the vanilla experience for a lot of players. So it's just like just a Rome Total War extended, very similar to, in many ways, to Rome Total War Realism, and indeed to Terra Expugnandi, Lusted's original mod, which was the basis for this and the inspiration behind this mod. Okay, so let's go and check. Oh yes, sorry, I forgot to show you Italy and Greece. As you can see, the closer you get to Germania, the trees become much more lush, much thicker, and much harder to get through. You see Scotland there, and Ireland, right, and Spain once again, and then North Africa. Okay. As you can see, we start with our capital, Armavira. You can change the name, so I could change it to, like for example, Tigranocerta, the famous city by Tigranes the Great. Just do that, click tick. And there you go. The capital's been renamed. That's a new addition added to Urbe Condita 5. So it's quite easy, and it adds a much more immersive sort of role-playing element to the game, in my opinion. For example, if you have a great king, like for example say Artaxias here, becomes Artaxias the Great and conquers many new cities, maybe I will rename Antioch Artaxia or something like that. I could name whatever I want. Let's see. In addition to that, the Armenians have many new units.
Can only take place when the
If you
governor
look
is present in
here,
the settlement.
you can see, yes, they have Georgian swordsmen and they have heavy spearmen. And these troops are actually pretty decent. They're good for holding the line, acting as an anchor and whatnot. But I would argue that their best troops are these Armenian swordsmen. Pretty mediocre by Roman standards. Pardon me. For example, the Romans have very heavy infantry and they're really, really good. But the Armenian strength does not lie in their infantry, it lies in the cavalry. As you'll see here, in the elite cavalry stables, they have cataphracts and cataphract archers. These men are the ones you must rely on if you're looking to, well, if you're looking to win wars with the Armenians. They also have pretty decent archers, very heavily armoured archers as well. So they come later in time when you've recruited better troops. Again, with this game there are area of recruitment. For example, these Georgian swordsmen can only be recruited in this part of the map. If you go to Pontus here, you can recruit Georgian swordsmen. You might be able to recruit other troops, for example the Cilician pirates or the Palmyran archers. You may not be able to train them. Some factions can train some mercenary units, others can't. Depends on the proximity to that region as such. For example, the Romans can train Campanian cavalry, as can the Epirotes, but the Greeks cannot, nor can the Gauls. But the Gauls can train Massilian hoplites. So, as I said, there are many things you can do now in this mod. I'll give you an example of some mercenaries. Okay, we have mercenary hoplites and Eastern mercenaries. Not really much. But as you go around the map, you will find that a lot of the areas have been fleshed out and filled in, and they all have their own sort of mercenary rosters. Even individual provinces such as Sparta has its own unique roster. Maybe even if you're very lucky and you have patience, you may have luck to recruit one contingent of Spartan hoplites. But that's all up to you, depending on your playing style. Now, allow me to end the turn and just show you the winter version of the map. Okay. As you can see, it looks pretty similar, but still different in many ways, with the trees, for example, changing colour. But yeah. And of course in the south, where the snows don't really penetrate, the land looks much nicer. Still green. Right, let's see. Okay, and there you have it. That's the campaign map. Now I'm going to show you a quick battle, just to show you the battle mechanics of the mod. Once again, you will see that the mod is not much different from original Rome Total War, apart from the fact it's just been really extended with better graphics and lots more units. Well, as you can see here, I've added a lot more battle maps to the campaign, so we have a lot to choose from. Personally, I'm quite torn between which maps I like, but we'll pick Cantabria being a battlefield in Spain. I should note that all of these places, for example the Corinthian Gulf, is actually taken from the Corinthian Gulf. It's not a place that's, say, in Ireland or whatnot. Marathon is the battle plain of Marathon, just outside Athens. Laconia, Sparta, Pillars of Hercules, the straits between Africa and Spain. What else? The Hibernian clearing, pardon me, that is in Ireland, yes. So, in fact, yeah, as an Irishman myself, let's pick a battle in Ireland. Okay, and we will play as the Britons, and we'll fight against the Romans. Why not? Okay. As you can see, the Britons have a massive expanded roster. They have mercenary troops here. As you can see, they have Caledonian Highlanders, Batavian infantry, and they have Scotii Raiders. They are Northern Irish lads, my very own people. And they have barbarian cavalry mercenaries. They still have the same similar troops from the original. They have the Druids, the Woad Warriors, the Swordsmen, Chosen Swordsmen, but they also have an armoured spearman unit, and then they have these special troops, the Botroas, who are very similar to, they're like imitation legionaries. They're not quite as skilled, not quite as disciplined, but they're very good. And then they have the Recalawar, and these men are expert two-handed swordsmen, really, really good troops. They also have forest archers and armoured archers. The forest archers, I would argue, are better. They have better range, but they are lightly armoured. And finally they have barbarian over cavalry. So as you can see, there's already been a great shift, and a lot more units being added to the British roster. Okay, so here we go. Pro tip, chariots are terrible. Chariots were terrible in the original game, they're terrible in this game. I wouldn't recommend using them too much personally. I'm much more a fan of heavy cavalry. Okay, let's see, elite champions, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll make this a small army. The Romans, you can see, have also got an expanded roster. They have the Republican troops, then they have the Imperial period troops, and the Praetorian Guard. They also have mercenaries. You can see Oscan mercenaries, Samnites, Ligurians, Etruscans, and the Campanians. Also, the onagers have been replaced in for many of the factions. Some still use onagers, particularly eastern factions, more primitive, you would argue, in terms of siegecraft. And the Romano-Hellenic factions have stone-throwing siege ballista, which I would argue is more accurate. But we will give them a standard, let's give them a standard Republican army. And there you go, some relatives. Okay. Now, I'm not sure who exactly is going to win this battle, but okay, I'll give them some stone throwing siege ballista just to show you what it's like. There's a good chance that the Romans will win this battle because they have, well, more troops and heavy artillery, but you never know.
Now foes are gathered. Now we see where they want to die. Await my orders.
You can see the barbarian warlord still has his chariot, but the other troops, you can see the British barbarian noble cavalry, you can see the forest archers, you can see the armoured spearmen, and you can see the Botros, who already are arranged in much more disciplined, tighter knit ranks than their compatriots here in the front. Just again to resemble that the whole like sort of Roman imitation thing. Right, here we go. Okay, as you can see, the odds of battle are roughly 50-50, so if I'm lucky, we might actually win this. But then again, I'm not particularly lucky or skilled at this game, so we'll have to wait and see. There are probably people playing this online who are cringing right now at my tactics, but we'll see. These are the elite troops of the British, these massive two-handed swordsmen who can do terrible damage with swords.
Swordsman, units, general, forward, units, cavalry.
You will press this.
As you can see, the UI has also been improved. A lot has been taken from barbarian invasions. So the barbarian troops have barbarian visors. They have the wooden looking UI here. As do the Greeks have their own corresponding visors and their own UI. As do the eastern factions. So I believe that by putting these in, it adds to the experience, or the immersion, sorry. Anyway, here we go. Yep, I'm somewhat outnumbered here. Okay, let's see. The original vanilla music has been kept in place as well. As you see, if you just take a little moment to look around the battlefield, you can see the sun, the skybox has been improved, the trees, you can see, massive improvements, the grass, the textures, it's all been improved, all courtesy of the Roma Surrectum team. I should note that if you have a weaker computer, that this game may lag out a little bit, so just be warned in advance of that. It might be best to lower your graphical settings. That is, if you have a underperforming computer.
Spears.
Let's do a mega war club before they charge. And here comes their army now, and their Hastani have routed very quickly, which suits me down to the ground. can see these men are about to throw javelins first.
The enemy warlord flees from our warriors. Attack!
That's a
and
good
drive
start.
them back in the same way.
And there, I just quickly show you the stone throwing siege ballista. As you can see, and it's fully functioning artillery pieces in the battlefield. They operate pretty much the same as the onagers. And I really do not feel comfortable with that artillery so close by. But this problem will soon be put to rest because my cavalry is about to take care of them. And they just took out a big massive gap, big massive whack of my archers. But let's see. Shoot the pinky plays everybody front.
The warlord of the enemy army is running like...
And we have the
You
general.
have killed the enemy general. Now his men show fear. Now they may turn and run. Attack!
And my general's dead
The warlord
too.
is dead. How well will his warriors fight without a general's guiding hand?
Well, if I'm lucky, my men won't all break at once, but you never know. When you kill the generals, I'm sure you're all aware, the army can all just mass panic and run, which can really ruin your day. Especially if you want to win a battle. Okay, the tree area they're riding. There's my cavalry. There's actually a slight chance I might win this. I should also add that the animations for many of the troops have been changed. If you play with pike units, you'll notice that all the pike units hold the pike in both hands rather than one. I always find it quite miraculous that a pikeman could hold a full-length sarissa with one hand and deploy it in battle order, with holding on to his shield with his left hand and holding on to the pike with his right. I didn't know that He-Man existed in the Greek period and that he bred so much, or maybe they mixed them properly, I'm not sure. But anyway, the animations have been fixed, and the Romans do brace themselves in the standard legionary stance. They don't look as strange anymore. The Roman legionaries look much more impressive when they're standing in battle stance in battle. And the same applies to many of the cavalry units. Okay, the Romans seem to have rallied. Somewhat. But it seems that, for all intents and purposes, I may have won this battle. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if you look here, you can see the way the Romans are standing. You can see the legionary pose. The classical pose, sword right by the shield, and the shield close to the body. So there you go. The Roman legions, I should add, the legionary cohorts that you unlock after the Marian reforms also have the same pose. Okay. Maybe I'm not the worst gamer in the world after all.
Noble cavalry!
And there
This
you
is no
go.
longer your warriors have promised.
Okay, well there you go, it says it itself. I just earned a heroic victory, so I'm happy for that. Again, as I mentioned, it is the exact same as Rome Total War Vanilla in many ways, bar the improved graphics and the new units, and there's a few more additions. But all in all, my aim in this mod is just to enhance the gamer experience of, well, of Rome Total War as such. Anyway, I'm Zipsoptippity Bop Bop. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, any queries, or even you want to play the game, feel free to look me up on Total War Center. You can just Google Urbe Condita TW Center and you'll find my mod. Or alternatively, you can check mod.db for the same. Okay? Again, thank you very much for watching. All the best.